The stench of instant noodles, sweat, and unwashed socks clung to the narrow dorm room like an invisible fog. Luo Chen opened his eyes to the low ceiling above, the same cracked plaster he hadn't seen in nearly a decade. The familiar rustling of bunk beds, the groaning of an overworked electric fan, and the distant blaring of a campus announcement struck him like a blow. He sat up abruptly, heart pounding. This was college? His fingers clenched the thin bedsheet. He looked around. 3 roommates in varying states of undress lounged around, one brushing his teeth shirtless, another furiously tapping away at a mobile game, the last snoring with headphones on. Posters of pop idols lined the peeling walls. A kettle hissed weakly beside a stack of textbooks. This wasn't just college. This was his dorm, his first year. His eyes caught the old flip phone charging beside his bed, the exact model he remembered owning when he was 20. What the hell? Luo Chen leapt to his feet, staggered, then froze. The mirror on the wardrobe door showed a young man with messy black hair, too thin cheeks, and eyes that still burned with ambition, eyes that had not yet known betrayal, gunfire, or a shallow grave behind his mansion. I died, he whispered. Didn't I? He remembered it clearly. The boardroom betrayal. The embezzlement charges. The press hounding him. Rivals circling like sharks. The bullet tearing through his chest as he stepped out of his own home. Yet here he was, 20 years old again, broke, unknown, forgotten. The door creaked open. Luo Chen, still in bed? You're already late for business ethics. Zhang Chang, his loudmouthed roommate, walked in with a triumphant smirk. Also, heads up. Your girlfriend's making a scene outside the economics building. Luo Chen blinked. His blood ran cold. In a daze, he followed the murmurs and stares of passing students until he reached the crowd gathered near the front steps. There she was. Su Yanyan. Beautiful, elegant, dressed in high-end brands her scholarship shouldn't afford, and clinging to the arm of a tall, sharp-dressed man with a Rolex and a smug expression. Luo Chen, she said sweetly, her voice loud enough for all to hear. Let's break up. Gasps and whispers rippled through the crowd. Luo Chen stood still, watching her smile as though she hadn't just driven a blade through him. You can't even pay for lunch without borrowing money. I've waited long enough. She turned to the man beside her. Zhou Wei is the son of the vice mayor's partner. He just got his own car. Zhou Wei laughed, draping an arm over her shoulders. No hard feelings, bro. Everyone's got their place. Luo Chen looked at them. At the sea of judgmental eyes. At the girl he once thought he'd marry. He smiled, faint, strange, and oddly calm. If this was truly a second chance, then they'd all see where their places really were. The humiliation lingered in the air like smoke after a fire, but Luo Chen didn't feel it. Not really. He walked slowly through the university's tree-lined path, past the whispering students, the pitying glances, the smirks. But his mind was far from the present moment. A second chance. His entire past life, decades of boardroom wars, covert takeovers, secret trusts, and offshore holdings, all burned into his memory. The betrayals. The traps. The hard-earned wisdom. And now, he was back. Young. Unknown. Flat broke. He clenched his fists. No mistakes this time. As the wind passed through the trees, a strange chime echoed in his ears, crisp and artificial. Ding. Hidden Tycoon System activated. Welcome, Luo Chen. System identity, bound. Objective, secretly dominate the city's economy. Warning, revealing your identity will trigger targeted suppression. Stay low-key. Initial seed capital, 50,000 yen. Special access, underground asset marketplace, level 1 unlocked. System tip, your success must remain invisible. Influence without exposure. Luo Chen froze mid-step. The world around him muted, the words hanging in the air in front of his eyes like a translucent screen. A system? A real one? He touched the floating panel. It responded to his thought. 50,000 yen materialized in a linked system bank account under an anonymous shell entity. Below it, a flickering tab labeled Asset Marketplace pulsed faintly. He tapped in. A dim-lit interface unfolded. Dozens of properties, businesses, intellectual properties, and strange assets all under the radar, all flagged as undervalued, hidden opportunity, or confiscated awaiting sale. His heart pounded. A rundown cafe near his campus. Listed price, 40,000 yen. Status, unprofitable. Owner seeking urgent sale. Hidden note, City Planning Office, Project Blue Line scheduled within 3 months, classified. Luo Chen's eyes widened. Project Blue Line. He remembered that. In his past life, the government's regional tech HQ plan had turned that stretch of Forgotten Street into the most expensive commercial strip in the province. Real estate values had multiplied tenfold, but no one had seen it coming. No one except the inner circle. He clicked purchase. Confirm transaction? 40,000 yen will be deducted from your system funds. Shell entity Lianhua Holdings will serve as legal owner. Confirm. A moment later, the cafe vanished from the list. Transaction successful. His system funds dropped to 10,000 yen. The cafe's ownership had transferred. A digital deed appeared in the system archive, complete with hidden ownership protections. He stared at it. His first move. A worthless shop to the world, a goldmine to him. Luo Chen slowly smiled. The cafe sat at the corner of South Pingyuan Street, tucked between a closed-down bookstore and a repair shop that hadn't seen a customer in weeks. Its faded signage Dream Bean Cafe flickered weakly, the bee hanging by a wire. The glass door creaked when Luo Chen pushed it open, releasing a puff of stale air and coffee grounds gone sour. A woman behind the counter, probably in her 40s, looked up with tired eyes. We're not hiring. And we're not doing deliveries either. I'm not here for that, Luo Chen said calmly. I'm here to buy the place. She blinked. What? Full ownership. Immediate transfer. She gave him a once-over, a university hoodie, cheap sneakers, and the air of someone who barely had bus fare. Then she laughed, short and bitter. You kids really have nothing better to do, huh? He didn't speak. Instead, he pulled out his phone and opened a digital document, a formal purchase agreement signed via the system, showing transfer of ownership, along with the payment confirmation. Her face went still. It took 10 minutes and a call to her broker for her to realize it was real. When she finally handed over the keys, she looked more stunned than relieved. I didn't think anyone would ever buy this dump, she muttered, glancing around the dusty tables and flickering lights. You must be a little crazy, kid. Luo Chen simply smiled. He spent the rest of the afternoon cleaning. The system had no instant build cheat, no magic renovation feature. He wiped tables, swept floors, cleaned the espresso machine, and tossed out expired milk cartons. By nightfall, the cafe looked slightly less like a health violation and slightly more like a business. He sat alone at one of the booths, the lights low, the city sounds drifting in through the open door. In the corner of his mind, the system pulsed softly. Hidden asset acquired. Estimated time until regional HQ project begins, 82 days. Current market value, 45,000 yen. Projected market value, post-HQ launch 600,000 yen plus. Luo Chen leaned back and closed his eyes. This was just the first step. In his past life, he had fought to keep power. This time, he would build it from the shadows. Not as a visible king, but as the ghost behind the throne. Tomorrow, he'd put up the cafe's hiring part-timers sign. Play the role. Keep the illusion alive. Let them think he was still broke. The real moves were already in play. By the third day, Dream Bean Cafe had reopened with a modest menu, a clean floor, and a quiet new part-timer behind the counter, Luo Chen himself. He brewed coffee, served pastries, wiped tables. To the world, he looked like just another poor student hustling to survive. And that was exactly how he wanted it. Outside, campus buzzed with gossip about the cafe's strange resurrection. Most had written the place off. Some thought Luo had begged for the job out of desperation. He didn't correct them. Instead, he listened. He overheard students discussing upcoming real estate changes, urban rumors, who was getting recruited by whom, pieces of intelligence more valuable than any textbook. Then, one afternoon, just as he was wiping down the counter, a familiar voice lilted through the air. Well, well. This is where you ended up. Su Yanyan stepped through the door with 3 friends trailing her like a procession. Dressed in a sleek skirt and designer coat, she looked every bit the rising star she imagined herself to be. Luo Chen looked up briefly. Welcome. Table for 4? She blinked. You're really working here? Her friends snickered. Didn't expect much else from someone like him, one whispered. Yan Yan sauntered up to the counter. You know, I was worried about you for a second after we broke up. But seeing you like this, honestly, it's kind of a relief. You're in your place now. Luo Chen didn't flinch. He calmly poured hot water into a French press and let it steep. Would you like something to drink? She tilted her head. No need to pretend, Luo Chen. Everyone knows you're just a worker here. Still, I'll be nice. Zhou Wei's organizing a dinner party next week for the top student council members. Maybe if you're polite, we'll let you serve. Luo Chen met her gaze for the first time. His eyes were calm, too calm. You're right, he said quietly. I am just a worker. He didn't say more. Just bowed slightly and walked to the back to prepare another order. She left soon after, clearly disappointed that he hadn't begged or barked back. But Luo Chen wasn't interested in winning arguments. He was interested in winning cities. That night, the system flashed. Regional HQ Development Update. Confidential permit leaked to insider circles. Cafe zone marked as future pedestrian center. Value surge triggered. Asset, Dream Bean Cafe. Current market value, 120,000 yen. Estimated peak, projected in 78 days 650,000 yen plus. Passive income potential, cafe bookings already requested by 3 university clubs. Luo Chen stared at the figures, then turned off the lights. Outside, the street was quiet. Inside, the city's future was already in his hands. No one needed to know. Not yet. The next week passed quietly on the surface. Luo Chen continued pouring coffee by day, reviewing the system's backend by night. What no one saw were the acquisitions. Behind every espresso he served, behind every mop stroke on the cafe floor, his mind raced through zoning maps, policy rumors, urban expansion trends, and whispers from the city's planning department, details he remembered not from hearsay, but from living through it once already. System alert, Level 2 functions unlocked. Feature, Property Control Panel. Access granted, Tier 2 development zones. Asset control limit, 3 concurrent holdings. Current balance, 120,000 yen. Bonus credit, Shadow Loan Line, 300,000 yen at 0% interest, system funded, conditions apply. Luo Chen's fingers danced across the control panel like a pianist. The interface now displayed as city grid zones outlined in red, orange, and green. Each one held hidden value, depending on timing, government projects, and insider information. He targeted 3. An abandoned warehouse lot near the North Rail Station, useless now, but in 2 months, the city would announce a new commercial logistics hub. Purchase price, 90,000 yen. Future value, 1.1 million yen. A parking garage 2 blocks from the university, currently bleeding money. But Luo Chen knew, a new shopping complex was coming, and the parking demand would explode. Purchase price, 150,000 yen, using system shadow credit. Projected passive income, 10,000 yen per month starting within 90 days. A condemned residential building in East Jincheng, an area most investors avoided due to its no future label. Except the city had quietly approved a cultural restoration project, one that would pay above market rates to reclaim old architecture. Purchase price, 140,000 yen. Government buyout value, 600,000 yen, within 6 months. Properties acquired. Total holdings, 3 of 3. Shadow loan remaining, 150,000 yen. Estimated portfolio value, current 460,000 yen. Estimated portfolio value, future, 6 months 2.3 million yen plus. Luo Chen leaned back in his chair in the cafe's storage room, surrounded by cleaning supplies and empty coffee crates. The flickering bulb above cast long shadows. He wasn't playing the stock market. He wasn't launching a startup. He was buying the bones of the city piece by invisible piece. No headlines. No press. No announcements. Just quiet, surgical acquisitions through shell companies the system managed in the background. Each purchase nested in layers of legal fog, so complex even an audit would find nothing. As he stepped back out into the cafe, a new customer walked in, one of the campus elite, wearing a tailored coat and polished leather shoes. The guy wrinkled his nose, clearly unsure whether to order or just scoff. Luo Chen gave him a polite nod. "Welcome." The customer barely returned it. But it didn't matter. Luo Chen wasn't here for recognition. He was already buying the ground they were walking on. Friday night. The university buzzed with anticipation. The student council's most anticipated event of the semester, the midterm masquerade gala, was being held at Cloud Pavilion Hall, the city's most prestigious venue for student socials. Word had it that Zhou Wei, heir to the Zhou Group and Su Yanyan's new arm candy, had booked it out with a blank check just to show off. Everyone important would be there. Everyone, except Luo Chen. Or so they thought. Back in the cafe, Luo Chen calmly polished the counter, watching the sun set through the dusty glass. The system chimed softly in the background. Asset opportunity, Cloud Pavilion Hall. Owner, retired real estate developer. Issue, tax evasion probe. Desperate to sell asset quickly to shift liabilities. Estimated value, 900,000 yen. Emergency sale price, 400,000 yen. Action, recommend acquisition? Yes, no. Luo Chen tapped yes. Moments later, the system processed the transaction. Through one of his shell companies, Eastern Bell Holdings, ownership of the Cloud Pavilion transferred silently. He didn't need to visit a lawyer. He didn't need to speak a word. Acquisition complete. Directive enabled, proxy asset control. Temporary management rights issued to Manager Lin, system-generated identity. Luo Chen changed out of his apron, put on a simple black suit, nothing flashy, nothing loud, and made his way toward the venue. Inside Cloud Pavilion, music echoed through the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers shimmered overhead. Waiters in white gloves moved like clockwork between crowds of rich heirs, top students, and city influencers. Zhou Wei stood near the center, champagne in hand, beaming like a crown prince. "Let's raise a glass," he declared. To power, to vision, and to not being the kind of guy who ends up working in a coffee shop. Laughter rippled across the room. Su Yanyan clinked glasses with him, smirking. And then the music stopped. The lights shifted. A hush fell over the crowd. The stage lights lit up. A composed man in a dark suit stepped to the mic. "Manager Lin, system proxy." He adjusted his tie. "Good evening, esteemed guests. As per standard protocol, I would like to announce a change in tonight's event hosting arrangements." Zhou Wei frowned. Lin continued, "As of today, Cloud Pavilion Hall is under new ownership. The previous lease was cancelled due to invalid contract status. The new owner has decided to offer the venue to a student charity initiative instead." A pause. Zhou Wei stepped forward, face dark. "What nonsense are you talking about? I booked this entire place. Paid in full." Lin smiled politely. "Your payment was made to a former owner who no longer holds legal rights. The current deed lists Eastern Bell Holdings as the sole proprietor." Gasps. Murmurs. Zhou's voice cracked. "Who the hell is Eastern Bell?" The doors opened. Luo Chen walked in. He didn't say a word. just nodded at manager Lin. Lin bowed slightly in return, then handed Zhou Wei a sealed envelope. Per the new owner's generosity, you may continue the party, if you agree to vacate the main hall in 10 minutes. Zhou Wei opened the envelope. Inside was a photocopy of the deed is stamped, signed, and already registered with the city. And in the bottom corner, in fine print, authorizing party, L. Chen. Su Yinyan's wineglass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. No one moved. No one spoke. Luo Chen gave a faint, courteous smile. I'm just the delivery guy, he said, then walked back out into the night, leaving stunned silence in his wake. System alert, reputation influence +2. Rival hostility triggered, Zhou Wei, suspicion level 35%. Asset value increased, Cloud Pavilion market price now 1.2 million yen. The world had started to notice. But they still had no idea who they were dealing with. The fallout from the gala was immediate and silent. No media coverage. No student council statements. But behind closed doors, panic flickered. Someone had humiliated Zhou Wei in front of the city's future elite, not with noise, not with violence, but with paperwork. Legally. Cleanly. Irrefutably. Worse yet, no one could trace who had actually done it. Cloud Pavilion's new ownership records pointed to Eastern Bell Holdings, a shell company with no board, no visible CEO, and no digital footprint beyond a P.O. box and a private legal firm. But for the Billionaire Club, an informal alliance of elite families with deep roots in Jincheng's old money circles, this wasn't just a prank. It was a declaration of war. Inside a private tea lounge atop the Jinri International Tower, four men sat in silence. Aged from their 40s to 60s, they were rarely in the same room unless the city's fate was on the line. Zhou Feng, patriarch of the Zhou Group, slammed a folder on the table. Inside, a dossier of recent real estate activity. 13 prime properties, he growled. Acquired within the past 40 days. All through front companies. No media coverage. No noise. But every deal was ahead of city development announcements. Someone's playing insider, muttered Liang Shu, the logistics magnate. That kind of timing doesn't happen by chance. The third man, lean and silver-haired, tapped his fingers thoughtfully. It's more than luck. It's orchestration. They're targeting future corridors before zoning even leaks. That takes either government access, or something we've never seen before. The last one, silent until now, finally spoke. It's a ghost investor. They turned. Pardon? Zhou Feng asked. We've been seeing the same pattern in the tech sector, the man said calmly. Startups getting seed funding from nowhere. Shell accounts propping up competitors. Always clean. Always hidden. But the money trail ends in fog. Like someone's building an empire from the shadows. The table fell silent. They all knew what this meant. If someone could build without being seen and win without being named, then none of them were safe. Find him, Zhou Feng said coldly. I don't care what it takes. Back on campus, Luo Chen sat at the back of an accounting lecture, head down, scribbling notes he didn't need. Around him, the students gossiped about the gala collapse, about how Zhou Wei had gone silent, about the mysterious management issue at Cloud Pavilion. Luo Chen didn't speak. But in his mind, the system pulsed softly. Influence tier upgraded, local economic ecosystem disturbed. New threat detected, passive investigation by private entities. Countermeasure unlocked, noise curtain generates false leads and system-crafted ghost entities to misdirect tracking attempts. Current trace risk, 12%, contained. A small smirk played on his lips. They had noticed him. Good. Now, they would waste their time looking in the wrong places, while he took everything else. The city skyline shimmered in the night, towers of steel and glass masking the chaos brewing beneath. But Luo Chen wasn't looking up. He was looking down through the layers of ownership, subsidiaries, and silent power plays that truly governed Jincheng. And now, he was ready to take it to the next level. System notification. Milestone achieved, asset portfolio greater than or equal to 2 million yen, projected. Loyalty Tier 2. System upgrade unlocked, Proxy Empire. New functions available. Shell Company fabrication. Automated frontmen generation. Sector-based diversification panel. Covert voting rights in public firms. Risk modifier, direct ownership detection -80%. Exposure penalty if traced, severe. Luo Chen's screen bloomed with new options. It was no longer about buying property or flipping undervalued cafes. Now, he could create full-scale companies, fake CEOs, legit financials, entire HR teams run by system AI, and position them across industries. Retail. Tech logistics. Even entertainment. All while never appearing in a single boardroom. He tested the waters. 1. Northwave Logistics, a mid-tier trucking company positioned to undercut several local players. Seated with 150,000 yen and 3 leased trucks, system optimized for cost efficiency. 2. Silverline Media, a boutique agency with one client, a rising singer from campus Luo happened to overhear in a talent show. System would guide her stardom. Luo would own 100% of her brand rights through offshore entities. 3. Ironcloud Tech, a small dev firm registered in a quiet office park. The system flagged it for one reason: it sat next to a data node key to the city's upcoming smart grid initiative. Companies registered, 3. Total projected revenue, 3 months 430,000 yen. Public exposure, 0%. Traceability risk, suppressed. He leaned back in his narrow dorm bed, the glow of the laptop flickering across his face. 3 companies. Dozens of employees, none of whom knew his name. Hundreds of clients, vendors, and customers already interacting with his proxies. He didn't need to chase success anymore. He was success. It just wore 100 other names. Meanwhile, in a smoky private bar uptown, Joe Wei scrolled through his phone, jaw tight. Another bid blocked. Another permit denied. Another company he'd never heard of outmaneuvering him. Eastern Bell, Ironcloud, North Wave, he muttered. Who the hell are these nobodies? He didn't know that all roads now led to one ghost, a phantom name whispered in a few circles, feared in others. The Hidden Tycoon. The billionaire club had begun to whisper as well. Someone was building an empire, but no one could find him. No name. No face. No trail. Just a shadow, always one step ahead. Morning broke with chaos in the business districts. Every major financial outlet blared the same headline. Unknown entity acquires 13 prime properties overnight. Who is the phantom tycoon disrupting Jincheng's economy? Elite families scramble as holdings are quietly swallowed. Luo Chen read it all over a cheap breakfast bun in the cafe. He didn't blink. Didn't smile. He simply sipped his tea as the system hummed. Daily Digest, overnight expansion successful. Property package, GovZone Sector 4. Shell entities used, 4. Total acquisition cost, 1.7 million yen. Total projected value, Q1 next year 9.6 million yen. Public awareness index, 86%. Suspect identity matches, 0. Media alias triggered, Phantom Tycoon. The city was reeling. Across boardrooms and banquet halls, corporate science held emergency meetings. Several families received anonymous buyout offers, all above market rate, all backed by untraceable capital. Some refused. By morning, their suppliers had vanished. Some tried to investigate. Their IT systems buckled under quiet denial of service campaigns, system generated, entirely deniable. A few submitted. And one by one, invisible flags were planted across the skyline. At Jincheng University, students crowded outside the economics building. Projectors streamed the live broadcast of a roundtable on the sudden rise of ghost capital in urban markets. Even professors looked baffled. A panelist said gravely, "This level of precision, it's surgical. Whoever's behind this has access to data, strategy, and timing we've never seen. They're not just rich. They're informed. And terrifyingly quiet." Su Yanyan watched with wide eyes from the crowd. Next to her, Zhou Wei stood frozen, his phone clenched tightly. Another of his family's bids had been shut out. This time, by Northwave Logistics. Again. How does a no-name trucking company even know what routes we're bidding for? He hissed. He was losing control, and he knew it. But Luo Chen? He sat on the back steps of the cafe, sleeves rolled up, a clipboard in hand. An employee from Dreambean's new university-side kiosk had just clocked in late. Luo gave a quiet nod and waved her in. Behind him, his empire moved faceless, fluid, and utterly untouchable. System alert, public market volatility rising. Rival entities, in disarray. System advisory, maintain low-profile activity for 48 hours. Task update. Final objective nearing completion. Establish total economic control over Greater Jincheng without exposure. He looked up at the sky. Clear. Silent. Unaware. Exactly how he liked it. The city didn't know who owned its streets, its warehouses, its distribution lines, and now its future. But soon, it would. Only far too late. The rain fell quietly over Jincheng. Luo Chen stood by the window of his newly acquired office suite, the top floor of Silverlight Tower. Nobody knew who really owned it. The lease was under a consulting firm. The firm was owned by another firm. And that one? Registered offshore, managed by a proxy with a fake resume and a spotless public profile. To the world, this was just another office in another building. To Luo Chen, it was the nerve center of a city he now controlled from the shadows. The system buzzed softly. Final objective, 100% complete. Jincheng Economic Grid, Influenced Assets, 143. Key Industry Penetration. Logistics, 64%. Commercial Property, 59%. Entertainment, 41%. Municipal Infrastructure Contractors, 3 active deals. Public Suspicion Index, 0%. Codename, Hidden Tycoon of the City. Final System Reward. Legacy Title Unlocked. Full Asset Portfolio Control, Manual plus Automated. Immunity Protocol, Trace Disruption AI enabled. It was done. But fate had one final visitor to send. The receptionist buzzed in. A Miss Su is here to see, the director of Eastern Bell Holdings. Luo Chen didn't flinch. Let her in. Moments later, Su Yanyan stepped into the office, drenched from the rain, her makeup running, her expression stiff. She bowed her head. I know it's you. Luo didn't answer. My father's business, she continued, voice cracking. It's on the verge of collapse. A company, Silverstone Holdings, pulled its investment this morning. No reason given. And we can't refinance. No one will touch us. Her knees hit the floor. I don't care who you really are. I don't care what happened in the past. Just please. I beg you. Save my family. We'll give anything. Silence. Then footsteps. Luo Chen walked to the window, watching the city below. His voice was calm. You once said I wasn't good enough for your world. I was wrong, she whispered. I didn't know. He turned slowly, his eyes sharper than she remembered. No. You were right, he said. I wasn't good enough for the version of the world you saw. He stepped closer. Stopped just out of her reach. But here's the truth, Su Yanyan. You don't live in that world anymore. He pointed to the skyline beyond the glass, the banks, the malls, the towers still glowing in the rain. I own that world now. Her lips parted. No sound came out. You don't need to know who I am, Luo said quietly. Just remember this, I'm the reason you still have lights in your house. He turned away. Su Yanyan stayed frozen on the floor, tears blurring her view of the man she used to mock, now walking through a door she'd never be allowed to open again. System final alert. Task complete. Status: Hidden Tycoon of the city. Visibility risk: 0%. Control index: 97%. Congratulations! You own the city. The lights of Jincheng pulsed below, brilliant, untouchable, and unknowingly his. Fade to black. The city kneels to a name they'll never know. Luo Chen never needed a spotlight. He became the power behind it.